So in I guess a snapshot of how we get to that point, what are the criticalities, what are the risks, what can cause the failures, what are the conditions that we need to be sure that are monitoring the failures, and if the conditions arise, we're observing of that very quickly. What are the 3 T's that protect against those conditions? What are the proactive things to do to prevent failure in the first place? How often must we go back and observe and do our walk around to detect the beginnings of a problem? We're going to make that then their SOP, Standard Operating Practice. So all these things we decide to do as a team is going to be written down into a document of how to do this thing right. If we do it right, we're going to get the right outcome every single time. So when we find the problem, who do we report that to? If the problem is an issue, what are we going to do in terms of addressing that? So we're going to have to train people to understand what is acceptable, what is not. When it's not acceptable, then we go and raise our hand before it becomes a major problem. We're going to have records of what we record. These guys are going to have a 3T range to be within. We're going to plot that electronically. Being electronic, the whole company can see what's going on. CEO, production manager, maintenance fitters, other operators. We want to make this public knowledge. We want this knowledge to go and be available wherever people need to know that information. And then, of course, we're going to make this a regular schedule. Whatever we decide to do, the frequency is, that's part of his job. And so in his procedure will be every shift, you will go and walk this part of the plant and come back with this report and type it into the computer to make a record of it. Or it might be every week or every month, whatever is sensible to protect against the risk of failure. The whole idea here is to use the least cost person, the most knowledgeable person for the situation. I don't want to have engineers doing this because that's not valuable for the business. But the guys that know their machines, know their process, and are there all the time, they're the right guys to be doing that level of investigation. When there's a problem, sure, kick it upstairs to a person that can help him technically, but the actual observation we want to do with the people that are there all the time. I should also say this is a manually driven process. As technology develops, a lot of this stuff can be mounted on the machine itself. You actually mount the sensors. When it comes to noise and vibration and temperature, there are sensors out there we can actually mount on our machines. And a lot of companies are having the option of buying a machine, and you actually ask them to option in the sensors for vibration, for temperature, and feed those outputs back to our computer and monitor it 24/7 all the time. So this slide is about using a person because they're typically already there, and it's a low cost thing to do. You can get this happening very, very quickly. It isn't the only way. You can actually replace a person with onboard sensors and let the computer monitor. This is simply a low cost way to get something happening fairly quickly.